is a moment in your life, a moment so quiet you almost miss it. It doesn't shout, it doesn't push, it doesn't demand, it simply waits. It waits in the stillness between your breaths, in the tiny pause between your thoughts, in that gentle space before you decide who you will be next. Most people never meet this moment. They rush past it, numb it, drown it with noise, scrolling, talking, worrying, soothing themselves with anything except silence. But here's the truth no one teaches us. Silence is not empty. Silence is where the real answers live. Silence is where you hear your soul. Today, I want to bring you into that stillness. When was the last time you allowed your world to go quiet? Not distracted, not busy, not multitasking, not filling space with noise just so you don't have to feel. I'm talking about real silence, sacred silence. Because when your world becomes quiet, something incredible happens. The mind stops reacting, and the body starts healing. Science has shown that just 2 minutes of silence can lower cortisol levels more effectively than calming music. 2 minutes. Imagine what your life would look like if you gifted yourself 20, or a full hour, or a day. But most people fear silence because silence is a mirror, and mirrors show truth, not the polished truth we present to others, not the curated truth we post online, the real truth, the truth we often run from. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But you can't become who you are if you never stop long enough to hear yourself. Silence reveals what we've buried, the grief we didn't process, the anger we swallowed, the dreams we abandoned, the loneliness we pretend we don't feel, the exhaustion we keep ignoring, the voice inside that whispers, something needs to change. When everything goes silent, your soul finally speaks. And if you've ignored that voice for years, it can feel overwhelming. This is why so many people keep life loud. It's easier to stay busy than to sit with the truth. It's easier to scroll than to feel. It's easier to distract than to heal. But here's the paradox. What you avoid in silence becomes louder inside you. It becomes the ache you can't explain, the heaviness you carry, the anxiety that comes out of nowhere, the sadness that lingers for no reason, the burnout that never quite goes away. Your soul will whisper, and if you ignore it long enough, it will eventually shout. But silence lets you hear the whisper long before it becomes a storm. When you enter silence, your nervous system does something extraordinary. It drops out of survival mode and into repair mode. Your heart rate settles, your breath deepens. Your muscles release tension. Your brain waves shift into states that enhance clarity, memory, and intuition. Silence is not passive. Silence is medicine. Chronic noise, constant stimulation, and never-ending stress keep the body trapped in fight or flight. But silence tells your body, you are safe now. You can heal. This is why people cry in silence. Not because something is wrong, but because the body finally feels safe enough to let go. Your soul does not speak in words. It speaks in sensations, in instincts, in intuition, in knowing, in images, symbols, and dreams. In that tug in your chest when something isn't right. In that pull towards something you can't explain. In that quiet voice that says, this is the way. You can only hear that voice in stillness. If your mind is a storm, your soul becomes a whisper. But when your mind becomes still, your soul becomes the lighthouse. There is a moment between breaths. A moment where everything is possible. It's not the inhale. It's not the exhale. It's the space between them. The universe hides miracles in that space. Ancient meditators knew this. Monks know this. Shamans know this, but modern humans forgot. We think healing is complicated. Routines, programs, courses, steps. But sometimes healing begins with something as simple as sitting in silence, with a hand on your chest, and allowing yourself to exist without performing for the world. Silence teaches you that you don't have to earn peace. You only have to return to it. In silence, you hear the things your busy life drowns out. What you actually want, what you actually feel, who you actually are, what needs to be released, what needs to be forgiven, who needs to be let go, where your soul wants you to go next. Silence does not lie. Silence does not manipulate. Silence does not flatter the ego. Silence does not sugarcoat reality. Silence simply says, here you are, now look. And in that looking, you become free. There have been moments in my life where silence was not a choice. It was a necessity. Moments where the world felt too loud. Moments where my nervous system was overwhelmed. Moments where pain carved everything else away. In those times, silence became a sanctuary. Not because it was peaceful, but because it was honest. Silence held me when nothing else could. It taught me to hear my own inner voice again. It taught me to trust my instincts. It taught me that clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from listening deeper. Silence rebuilt me when life had broken me down. And if you are watching this, I want you to know it can do the same for you. Stillness is uncomfortable at first because you're meeting parts of yourself you've abandoned. But then something shifts. Slowly, gently, quietly, you begin to feel your own presence. You begin to reconnect with your own energy. You begin to sense your own truth. And eventually, stillness becomes home. Not the place you run from, but the place you return to. The signs you've been waiting for, the clarity you've been begging for, the next chapter you've been trying to see, they don't come through force. They don't come through stress. They don't come through overthinking. They come when you become quiet enough to hear the universe whisper back. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Silence is the doorway inward." So if you feel lost right now, sit in silence. If you feel overwhelmed, sit in silence. If you feel disconnected, sit in silence. If you feel like life is asking something of you and you can't quite hear what it is, sit in silence. Everything you seek, peace, clarity, direction, healing, is already inside you. Silence simply removes the noise so you can finally hear it. You don't need hours. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need spiritual knowledge. You don't need rituals or incense or mantras. You only need you. Try this. Sit down. Put a hand on your chest. Breathe in, breathe out, and then pause in the stillness between breaths. Listen. Just listen. You will be surprised by what you hear. Before I go, I want to leave you with this. Silence is not the absence of life. Silence is the return to life. It is the place where your soul speaks. It is the place where your truth rises. It is the place where your healing begins. It is the place where your next chapter waits. So take a moment today, even just 1 minute, and step into the stillness between your breaths. Because in that quiet place, you don't just find yourself, you remember yourself. This has been Valkyrie. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for stopping by. Have a beautiful day.